to go ahead and introduce Alex Enchin from Holos Global. Come on up, brother. Thank you very much.
Morning, everybody. Happy Bicycle Day to those celebrating. My name is Alex Enchin. I'm from Toronto, Canada. I'm one of the co-founders of Holos. I'm going to talk today about something that I haven't heard anyone talk about yet, and I'm not even sure is covered today, but places to have these experiences with psychedelic drugs, safe places with medical oversight that are not clinics. Can we get the... Nope. There we go. Back one. My personal story is I'm a technology entrepreneur from Toronto, Canada. I've started and sold a couple e-commerce businesses. And about 6 years ago, my life started to take a very abrupt turn that was brought about by my mom's struggles with depression and anxiety. After we lost a close family friend to her struggle with depression, I was determined to help find support and relief for my mom. I went to a number of doctor's appointments with her back in Canada and got a crash course in antidepressants and SSRIs. And needless to say, I was horrified by what I learned about our medical system's, total reliance on pharmaceuticals that only really, work for a small sliver of the population. So I was on a quest to find help for my mom and was looking for different modalities that, could potentially give her some relief. Back in 2018, I was spending a bunch of time in California, and I noticed that everywhere I went, people were talking about psychedelics, microdosing and macrodosing in a way that wasn't happening 6 or 12 months earlier. I got super curious about what is this psychedelic energy that's happening, and I found Michael Pollan's book, which really blew me away. And at the end of 2018, I had my first guided psychedelic therapy experience with a high dose of psilocybin, and it changed my life. I spent the next 2 years trying to figure out, as an entrepreneur, how can I fit into this sector? It's not an industry yet, still isn't, but I believe this is going to be hugely impactful and help a lot of people. And where can I fit in? And how do I want to spend my life and my time? In August of 2020, I went on a retreat, had a powerful psychedelic therapy experience at a little yoga kind of bed and breakfast in the countryside. And as I was coming out of a really, really profound experience with a psychedelic drug, I was looking out the window into nature, and I just had this epiphany, wow, what an incredible way to do this. In nature, there's a chef, there's massage therapists, there's therapists. I can go for a hike, I can swim tomorrow. I don't know where my phone is. I'm not going to the office anytime soon. And Field Trip and Numinous, some great companies, opening ketamine clinics in urban areas. That's not it. They're going to help a ton of people, but that's not it. And why is nobody talking about Canyon Ranch of psychedelics, or Esalen, if you're familiar with Esalen? The next week, I went out to British Columbia. I met a guy who was working on something very similar, who's now my business partner. He worked at Esalen in Big Sur for many years and is a student of a guy named Stan Groff, who's kind of the godfather of psychedelic therapy. We decided to work together and have been building Holos for the last year and a half. Yep. Not sure who did that. But next slide, please. What is Holos? Holos is a boutique hospitality concept that builds wellness hospitality projects that are largely or broadly focused on well-being and nature and connection and self-discovery, and that are highly specialized in medically supervised psychedelic therapy. This is a picture of a waterfall on our first property, which is in Costa Rica. And the way that we've designed the concept is that part of it, or half of it, is a group retreat center for group experiences, smaller groups than some of the other places you'll see, but about 18 keys, or 18 rooms, group retreat center, another 18 rooms that'll be more like a eco-boutique hotel. And we also, in Costa Rica, have 30 residential parcels for people to build homes, and we've sold 14 of them in the last few months. The reason that we're thinking about a very hospitality-centric approach to this space is we're really trying to speak to a broader audience. When we went through this concept development with a really world-class group of hospitality people called Alara, it was really important that we not just build places that are for psychonauts, but speak to a broader audience. And now there's so many people who are curious about this stuff. They're interested, but they're not ready for psilocybin and they're not ready for ayahuasca. So can you build places that are accessible to people who are just looking to dip their toe? They just want to learn more. They want to go feel out the place. And part of opening a boutique hotel is that people can come and stay, and there's like no requirement to have any kind of drug experiences. Oops. Next slide, please. The reason that we're starting in Costa Rica, you can go to the next slide, please. The reason we're starting in Costa Rica is really a regulatory consideration. So there's a structure there called an alternative health clinic license, which gives you full legal standing in Costa Rica to work with plant medicines, specifically psilocybin, ayahuasca, and San Pedro or mescaline. You can go to the next slide if you can, AV team. And we're in the process of becoming the third site in Costa Rica to have one of these licenses. I'm from Canada, and British Columbia is a place that we'll definitely be operating in the future when Health Canada puts the regulatory structure in place. And we've also been looking at a few places in the Caribbean for future sites. Our intention is to operate fully legally, fully licensed, fully compliant, and do this with major people. The only site that didn't make it onto this slide that we're tracking really closely is Colorado, which will vote on a legalization for all plant medicines in November. And if it goes through, which we're optimistic it will, it'll be about 2 years from being initiated. You can go to the next slide, please. This is kind of like where Holos sits in the landscape of hospitality. What's really interesting is that in the last couple months, as we've been raising money, and I'll talk about that at the end, there's a lot of big hotel companies and a lot of big hotel developers, some really big names who are watching this space, and they're interested in getting involved. If you're a public company, if you're a big brand like a lot of the ones you see here, you can't really get involved with something like psychedelics at this point. So we feel like we have an incredible opportunity, an incredible window to create a lot of value and to build a really incredible brand that's based on safety and trust and integrity and operating and working with psychedelics in a very high caliber and supported environment. You can go to the next slide, please. Who is actually doing this? Who are these people? Ian Michael, who's my business partner and co-founder, he's worked in the retreat center space, including Esalen. His background is in eco-resort design, and he's also a therapist. He's been involved with psychedelics for a very long time. You've heard my background. Hannah Blake is our programs director and head of kind of people. Lauren has come to us from the Honest Company. She's finance and admin. Samantha on programming. Brittany comes from the hospitality world, a place in Tulum called Habitas, and also Summit Series in Utah. Jesse's one of our clinical advisors. He's a trauma-focused PhD in clinical psychology. And I mentioned Stan Groff. And you can go to the next slide, please. I think one of the best ways to identify great companies in this space is who are their investors, who are their advisors. Gabor Mate recently joined our board. He's a world thought leader on trauma and addiction and child development. Tim Chang is a well-known VC here in Miami, actually, and is involved with North Star. Sanjay and Kevin Ryan on the bottom row are two of the biggest philanthropists, as is Jim Parker, actually, two of the biggest philanthropists in psychedelic medicine. Alan Scholar was vice president of design and development at Four Seasons for many years. Mendel Kalin, amazing, and Liam Mix, amazing people in this field as well. You can go to the next slide, and you can actually start the film, please. This is our site in Costa Rica, which is open for private retreats. If anyone's interested in coming and actually doing a private retreat at this initial facility that we've built in the last few months, come find me later because we're really focused on these private gatherings. And just before the film starts, because I'm almost out of time, we're in the middle of a $6 million round. We've raised just shy of $4 million so far, so there's a little bit of room left. And you saw some of our investors and advisors. We have an incredible group. And if anyone wants to connect with me, my email is alex@holos.global, and you guys can start the film. And I think you'll enjoy this. If you can believe it, those waterfalls are actually on our property in Costa Rica. And the last thing that I'll say is that we really, really need high quality, high integrity places for people to have these experiences. And nature is the best place to have them. And thank you for listening. It's great to meet you.